Hi folks, welcome to my Pit Retro Journal. This video is for September 2023. That's where we celebrate all things Radio Shack and the Tandy Corporation in the month of September in 2023. This is my Pocket Computer 1 interface where I can use it to load cassettes, audio stuff into my Pocket Computer 1, and it's also a printer interface. If you remember, I've had a lot of videos on my channel for my Pocket Computer 1. I've replaced the screen, and I've done some networking between that and the ZX81, and then I've also done some games on this as well. I did do a video a few years back where I took this apart to fix it, and I actually wanted to revisit that video, so let's do that. So it comes with two parts. There's a couple utility boards. They don't actually have any chips on them, so if you look at this board, it just has, that's for the connector, and just add some resistors and diodes and a capacitor, and then this is just the switches, and it has a connector that goes to the board, and this, it gets power from the unit as well. And so the main board is right here. And when I open it up, what I discovered was that the battery had some serious corrosion on there, both in the back and in the front, and it actually did some damage to the board, and that's why it wasn't working. I'm always surprised that they leave these traces open. I mean, I read online, and I didn't see anywhere where you can't just completely seal these up. So in my fix, I have a replacement set of batteries that I actually completely seal in plastic. If that's a bad idea, let me know in the comments. But I haven't seen where they need to have air to work, because, and you can see this has completely corroded off back here. I don't care if the batteries corrode, but I just don't want it to corrode the board any further. So let me go into details of what happened on the board. So you can actually just take this. So I've already unscrewed everything on this. So this is the printer head part. It's got a ribbon cable. The ribbon cable is pretty robust, but I have to be careful nonetheless. So here's the board. I'll use this as a guide, and it's got. I assume this is probably the main logic chip. I don't know specifically. It's in the microcontroller. These are just helper chips. I think this is a buffer, NAND gate logic. Obviously it needs to buffer a little bit because it's getting input through this ribbon cable from the Pocket Computer. Then it has, I don't know what this does, but this is the audio in and out for saving and loading programs. I checked I actually replaced the capacitor, and that didn't. Initially, I was kind of debugging this and didn't know what was going on until I realized all the corrosion that was going on, and I had to fix it. So let me turn the board over. You can see all these bodge wires that I fixes. So right here, let me see if I can't. Add a little bit more light there. No, it's not going to work. Hopefully this is enough light. But you can see that there was a trace that ran from here all the way to this connection, and it's completely gone. There's just a remnants of it. And in fact, it teed off. And I ended up soldering a wire from here to here, and then it just kept coming off to where I finally, so that was a mistake. So I finally went from here to a connection point, and this whole thing is connected to that. I got it right at the angle of the T, but if I could actually zoom in even further, you would see that even part of this has been deteriorated. So I actually, and I don't know if you can see this or not, I put some lacquer on there to try to protect it further. The other one was, so that was the hold on, that was the negative side, and then the positive side actually had a trace running underneath to this connection, and so I just ended up having to jump it because that also deteriorated. So this whole side did. Even though these are corroded, they actually make good contact, so I didn't mess with those. And then the other part was there's a trace right here. You can see if I can follow along with it. It goes right here. It's not the one on the edge, but the next one, and it comes to a mount like a via, and it actually goes through the board and then comes back here. So it jumped this. It didn't have enough room to go around it, so they jumped it, and then these completely corroded, especially on the other side. Let's see if I can turn this around without breaking the board. And if you can see, there was a yeah, it's hard to see, but it's let's see if I can get it just right. So there was a trace that ran from here to just under the resistor, and it went through the board, and that had just completely corroded. So I had to fix that. That was the big one, and then well, other than the power, obviously, and then I also realized that right above the second connection point, and this cable's in the way, but there's a trace that actually also had corroded, and that was more subtle because the trace looked fine, just darker, but when I put my multimeter on it, it gave barely a reading, so maybe a quarter or a third. So anyway, I put a wire there, and so these jumping wire, these bodge wires end up fixing it, so it's fixed. And you can see there's still, you know, that doesn't look pretty. It's all a good connection, but yeah. So the board, I did clean it with isopropyl, and there was also corrosion on the front here. I don't know if I should test the audio port, so I don't know if that works or not. But I don't have a cassette deck, and my computer doesn't do too well in audio out. It can do audio in, but it can do audio out. But unfortunately, because it doesn't have a mic, it has a line in. And I don't have a program to load, so I can't really use those at the moment. I do have that cassette that I could give a try. We'll see. What I need to do is save a program first, so I might try that. But anyway, so all this stuff works. It's tested, so I'm going to put it back together and get it to run. So you got to get this in just right. So this kind of so what I remember seeing here is these are my parts bag, and I forgot that there is, I don't know what its purpose is. There's a little knob with a spring that goes underneath that, but it's not a grounding or anything, so I have no idea why they have that in there. So let me add this back. And I checked the connectivity on these, and they're all good, but there's a hole right here. And then this spring has a little thing coming out of it, and that just goes straight into this hole. Sorry. I get my delicate work. There we go. And then I can literally put this back in here. So this kind of slots in under here, and then this kind of cocks up like that and comes down. Oops. Come on. You can do it. Something's not right. Here it is. Yeah, and then this just comes all the way down. And there's two places to put a screw in on the board. And I've got the screws right here. There's a screw. Let me actually move this out of the way. Oops. Oh, I didn't do that. Right there. That's it. That's it. So I'm going to move this out of the way. On top of the ZX81. And so there's a screw hole right here. I always back them out before I back them in. And there's a screw hole right there. Oh, I didn't know my screwdriver was magnetized. I guess it is. I also tend to use a smaller screwdriver, so I can't apply as much force. I don't like to strip out the plastic tabs that hold this stuff in, because then you have a loose motherboard. Come on. This is going to go in here like that. There we go. So press it down. So that's in. And that's in. So that's nice and tight. So what I'm going to do next is, so I had this for a while. It's almost like the same battery pack, but I don't know what device I got this out of. I tested it. It has no corrosion on it. And the battery actually holds a charge, which is surprising because I'm sure it's as old as this thing. And so what I've learned is you actually need to have the battery pack in for the print function to work. I've even tried it on that. If you look at that, that's a 2.5 watt, 6 volt adapter. And even if I plug that in and do a print, some longer printings, the battery charge light comes on and then it stops working. But if I have this in there, it actually works. So that's odd behavior. So for whatever reason, this machine seems to need the battery pack. So yeah, so I wrapped this battery pack up in plastic, and it's sealed everywhere, and it just has these wires coming out here. Before, you would actually just connect it to the tabs directly. So I'm going to temporarily connect this and see if that works. So the way to do that, one of the little trick that I can do is, so I need to have this thing here as well. So I have a little piece of tape, and so what I can do here is I can go start with black, put a piece of tape this down here, put this over that. I should put this on the other side. Put this over that, and put that over all three of the other two. And so once I seal this up from this side, it's a temporary way to connect it. Right? So that will actually create the connection. It's not permanent. I'm going to solder it. I got my soldering iron right here. And I'll do the same with the red, but this will be a quick way for me to test it. So again, put the biggest one on the bottom. It's a gypsy way of connecting wires, but again, if you're trying to test it, I learned this being a system administrator a long time ago. Quick test of wires, you can use masking tape, believe it or not. As long as you can get it to stick around. Okay, here we go. My finger's actually sticking to the tape. And this is the painter's tape, which is nice because it's easy to come off. Because I don't want this to be permanent. And then if I close this up, and you can see the outline. So as long as you can see the outline of the connection. So this should connect. All right, so I'm going to close this up. Oh, I need to connect the ribbon cable in here. So let's do that next. So hopefully I'm still in focus. Let's put this further in. All right, so I'm connecting the ribbon cable onto this connector. So I just press down on it. It's in there. There we go. And so this is free of problems. It's going to have a little trouble closing up, but I don't want to close it fully at the moment. In fact, I can leave it open like this, just so this is connected. I'm going to connect this power. So that's the original adapter. That's it's only 350 milliamps, I think. And again, if I turn this on, it actually starts the and if I hit the low battery indicator isn't coming on, so that's a good sign. And so now to test it, so this sort of slides in here like that, closes up. So you're supposed to turn the power on and then print, and then you turn the on button twice. Now I have a program in here that I thought I had a program in here. Yes, it says print hello. And so if I put it in run mode, oops, I get sure you can see what I'm doing here. Hit return. Yep, and at times it would make the printer sound, but it actually would just, it wouldn't actually be doing the print heads. It would just make the sound. It would make this sound. And there's a subtle difference between that sound, and if you do it again, you can hear that. You can actually hear the pins hitting the, well, there's no paper in there now, so that it's actually giving the signal to print. And so so that works. Now when I try to list, sometimes it'll list, but the battery light comes on. So this is what I was saying, that I don't know if I've had it charged long enough. Let's see what it does. Yeah, and you see the low battery light comes on. So I'll have to keep an eye on whether or not, and now I don't know if it'll do it again. I think now it's going to be stuck. Yeah, because once this light comes on, I think then you just have to turn this back on. And now if I do a list, yeah, but it's still coming on. So the other option I can do is I can also I can try this this one as well. So let me do that. See if I can't give it more wattage to see if that makes a difference. Okay, and so if I do that, turn everything off, on, twice. So now if I say list, will it, whoops, if I say list, so it has more wattage now and it didn't come on. However, if I don't have this in, I'm using the 2.5, I still get the light. So that's really odd. So it definitely works, but it does need to have something here to help the power drain when it's doing more than a line of but anyway, so it does work, so we're good to go. So what I'm going to do next, and I'm probably going to do this off camera just to speed things up, is first of all, I'm just going to disconnect this. Is I'm going to put it back together and solder. So I just need to solder these wires together and put some electrical tape over them. Put this in a place where it won't hurt anything, and close it up, and I should have a printer. Okay. So that is. So I got both these triplets of wires nicely soldered. What I want to do next is I'm going to take some heat shrink tubing and apply it to those wires. So I probably want that much. There we go. That would cover that. And then same amount. And that would cover that. So I see people using a lighter or a soldering iron for many times on these things. I actually like to use Conair. It'll work. It's got it on hot, so let's turn it on. All right, so they are in there and they're not coming off. And I don't have to, yeah. All right, so that's good. For whatever reason, it's interesting. I had to. This one shrunk much better than that one. I don't know why, but maybe because it had
bigger base. Anyway, they're protected. They're not going to short out. And so I can comfortably place them down like that. So I forgot to mention one thing about my fix, which was when you saw the other side of the circuit board, see if I can zoom in on that. The negative, the ground, when it connected to the other side of the board, its connection mount was actually gone because it was part of that trace that went here. So I actually cut a little notch on the side of the board, and then I wound a telephone wire, a copper wire around, and soldered it on this end. So that gave me a mount point for both that wire and the green wire that jumped it. So that gave me a nice firm mount point. So if I ever need to desolder this wire, I don't have to desolder the green wire. So if you can see that or not. Okay, so let's put it back together. Let's connect the power. It's right here. And okay, and let's make sure you turn it off. And then let's put this back in here. And I'm going to turn on the power, then the printer, and I'm going to turn this on. You got to hit this twice. I'm going to hit run. You can definitely see the, let's do it one more time. So if I go and there we go. You can definitely see that it's printing, and it's not so bad. The that's all I have today. If you have any comments, especially about whether or not putting the battery pack inside. Let me grab the other battery pack. Yeah, I'm really bummed that I think I opened this up about 10 years ago, and I'm really bummed that I let it corrode so badly. So yeah, I'd be interested to know whether or not putting this in plastic actually could damage, cause a fire or whatnot. So if you know that, please comment below. Otherwise, I think it's protecting the computer a little better. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for joining me, and stay safe.